YouTube, I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night Cerrone versus Medeiros. Let's start at the bottom. First fight is Oscar, I don't know how to say his last name, versus Tim Williams. And to me, Tim Williams, he's been around for a long time, but he's really just a jiu-jitsu guy. Other than that, he isn't too impressive. I feel like Oscar's really good everywhere. I think he's got solid boxing, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu. He's pretty young. He's 10-0. And I just feel like, he's the big up-and-comer. And I feel like we've seen in his UFC debut that he's pretty solid. I just think Oscar's going to win either a one-sided decision or get a late TKO in like the late second, early third. Next is Alex Morono versus Josh Burkman. I know Josh Burkman's probably going to lose this fight, but I'm just going to pick him. I'm going to hope he can win this one and retire. I feel like he can. I don't feel like Alex Morono feels like he's primarily a striker with a little bit of grappling. I feel like Josh Burkman, is probably the heavier puncher overall, and I think he's the better wrestler and grappler overall. Alex Morono is younger, and he's probably the better technical striker. He doesn't have a lot of one-punch knockout power, so realistically, Alex Morono is probably going to just win a 30-27 decision, but I'm going to hope that Josh Burkman can get a solid win and retire after this fight. So I'm going to pick Josh Burkman to get like a second-round knockout or submission. Next is Sasha Morris versus Lucy Pudoval, and I'm going to lean towards Sasha. I don't know either of these chicks too well. They both just look super average, but I'm going to lean towards Sasha. I say she wins a decision. Next is Roberto Sanchez versus Jacoby Sanchez. And to me, Jacoby Sanchez is really solid. He's a really good wrestler, and he's improving his striking, and his jiu-jitsu is always pretty decent too. We saw him on Dana White looking for a fight. I feel like he's gotten better since he got cut. As for Roberto Sanchez, he looks like he's just a jiu-jitsu guy. I feel like Jacoby's going to have a big advantage in the wrestling, and I think he's going to have a big advantage in just keeping the pace and being in the better position. And I think eventually Jacoby's just going to get a dominant position and win by TKO with ground and pound from like Mount or something. Next is Brian Camozzi versus Jeff Neal. And to me, these guys are about even. I think they're both strikers with decent grappling. Jeff Neal, I saw him on Dana White looking for a fight, but he fought somebody that he was way better than. His record's like 8-2 overall. As for Brian Camozzi, he was 8-2 when he came to the UFC, but he's fought two really good dudes, and he's lost 2 times. So it's really close, but I'm leaning towards Brian Camozzi just because I feel like those 2 fights I saw in the UFC, he looked pretty good in both of them, and now that he's gotten the UFC jitters out of the way, he's fighting somebody more his level, and he can build up to the better guys. I think Brian Camozzi should get this one, probably by decision. I think it'll be a close fight. Next is Jared Gordon versus Carlos Ferreira. And I think that... What the hell? Why was I... Okay. Jared Gordon. Yeah. I feel like Jared Gordon's the bigger up-and-comer. I feel like the only way Carlos Ferreira can win this fight is if he kind of takes his back. I think other than that, Jared Gordon's got the big advantage everywhere. I think his striking and wrestling is better overall. I won't count out Carlos Diego Ferreira, like, if people are betting on this. Like, he's a pretty solid wild card pick, like, forever betting pool some people might have. But Carlos Ferreira hasn't fought in a while. He's been out. I think he was injured. And I think that's just something that leans more towards Jared Gordon, too. And Jared Gordon's, like, younger and just more active. I'm going to lean towards Gordon. I say he wins by second round TKO. Probably just, like, in the clinch, he'll just start beating him up and win by TKO. Next, we got Sage Northcutt versus Tabet Gutai, and to me, Tabet is not that great. I feel like he's 1-3 in the UFC. He won his last fight against a guy with no power in his striking, and he was able to basically just walk him down and knock him out. I feel like they're just really giving Sage Northcutt the easiest fight they can give him at the moment, and I think Northcutt's going to win this fight everywhere. I think he's the better wrestler, jiu-jitsu, and striker guy. It's obvious what they're trying to do. They're trying to give him an easy win because they don't want to give him anybody decent. So I think he's going to win by first round KO. Next is Steven Patterson versus Brendan Davis. And to me, Brendan Davis, we saw in his UFC debut, he's basically just a really decent Muay Thai guy, but he's not very good at fighting at range. He really just likes to kind of get in there and brawl. Other than that, like, his takedown defense was pretty good, but I think Steven Patterson looks like the better, more well-rounded guy. I feel like if he can keep the distance while they're striking, he should be able to win this one pretty well. And I also think Steven Patterson's better on the ground, so I'm going to say Steven Patterson wins by decision. We got the next 4 fights. These fights are all really solid fights. We got Thiago Alves versus Curtis Millender. And to me, Curtis is a really solid kickboxer. He's like 16-2, 15-3, something like that. He's never been knocked out or nothing like that. All of his losses were like submission losses. he's a good striker, but he doesn't have a lot of knockouts, and that's my biggest fear with him. I feel like Thiago Alves, he's shorter and has less reach, but I think that, he could, if he can get in and land those leg kicks, if this is just a straight kickboxing match, I'm a favor of Thiago Alves most of the time. I feel like Thiago Alves, I've only ever seen him lose striking fights a handful of times. The vast majority of the times, I feel like he's way better than most of the guys he kickboxes with. It's just his grappling. And to me, Curtis, I haven't really seen him lose a kickboxing fight. Like I said, all the losses he had are submission losses. But I just feel like Thiago Alves is going to be able to get in there with those kicks. And, I think he's going to chop him down and eventually win by leg kicks. I think Thiago Alves is going to win by second round TKO from leg kicks. Next is James Vick versus Francisco Trinaldo. And James Vick has looked really good in his last couple of fights, but I just can't forget that one fight where he got knocked out. I feel like the guy was able to get in under his arms and just hit him repeatedly. And I feel like that's something Francisco Trinaldo can do. I feel like Francisco Trinaldo is the type of guy with the speed and power to duck the long punches, get in on James Vick, and just hit him with the power punches. I think that grappling-wise, these guys are probably about even. They both are kind of more defensive grapplers that prefer to stand and bang. I think Vick has probably better submissions, but Trinaldo's probably the better wrestler overall. I just don't think this fight's going to hit the ground at all unless Trinaldo tries to take it down, and that's only if he gets hurt. But I think it'll be a boxing match, and I think if Vick can stay on the outside and out-jab him, he'll win, but I just don't see that happening. I think Trinaldo's going to be able to duck those long punches, get in, and just hit him with the big hooks and knock him out. So I'm going to pick Trinaldo by first-round KO. Next is Derek Lewis versus Marcin Tymura, and to me, Marcin's biggest problem is he just doesn't throw a high enough volume. I think he's had that problem in all of his fights. I think that, he's accurate, and he definitely has a lot of knockout power, but he kind of just loses on volume. And not only that, but I feel like he'll try to grapple a lot of the time, and I don't think he's going to be able to take Derek Lewis down or hold him down. I wouldn't be surprised if Derek Lewis gets a late third-round knockout. I just think Derek Lewis keeps a better pace, and I think he's better at clinching with guys and beating them up in the clinch if he needs to. And I don't think Tymura is the greatest at clinch fighting. I feel like if guys are just trying to take him down, then yes. But if someone is trying to box with him in the clinch, I think it's going to favor the other guy. And I think Derek Lewis is just going to be able to move forward on him, beat him up. Tymura will try to take him down here and there. I don't think he'll be able to get him. And I think eventually Tymura will get more tired than Lewis. And Lewis might get a third-round KO from eventually getting on top of him and mount and just raining down the ground and pound. And finally, we got Donald Cerrone versus Yancy Medeiros. I really like Yancy Medeiros, representing Hawaii and all that shit, but he just gets hit way too much. It's one of those things where I've seen lots of fights with him where I feel like he's winning or doing well, and then he just gets rocked really bad. So I always have a hard time picking him just because of how easy he gets hit in the chin. And I feel like Cerrone's the type of guy who can launch those head kicks at any moment in time. I also feel like overall grappling-wise, Cerrone's going to be a lot better. Yancy Medeiros, he's solid number 15, and this is a good way to get Cerrone off that 3-fight losing streak. I just feel like the only way Yancy could win this fight is if he does what Nate does and just keeps it in that boxing range and never lets him get in kicking range. And he also has to stuff all the takedowns, which I don't know if he'll be able to do. I just feel like sooner or later this fight's going to either hit the ground or Cerrone's going to be able to land a head kick and knock him out. I don't think Cerrone's done. I just think Darren Till was he looked gigantic compared to Cerrone, and I think he was just landing those big bombs. I think that this is a fight Cerrone's going to rebound from. He's going to, like I said, I think he's eventually going to find his range and win by KO from a head kick, or they're going to go to the ground and he's going to win by triangle or rear naked choke. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.